Welcome to Luke 21 Radio, a broadcast explaining biblical prophecy in the tradition of St. Augustine. And now, from Greenville, South Carolina, here's your host, Steve Wood.
Hello, this is Steve Wood, and welcome to Luke 21 as we study biblical prophecy together. And we're interrupting our series on the book of Revelation. By the way, we're almost done with our series on the book of Revelation, but something is coming up on June 12th of 2026, and I'm talking about Steven Spielberg's new film, Disclosure Day, is going to be released. And so I have what I call a very special segment here, this episode, entitled Preparing for Disclosure Days. And I think over the next several years, we're going to see not just one, but multiple disclosures. Now, advanced movie summaries suggest that this movie, Disclosure Day, reveals that extraterrestrial life actually exists and is already present on Earth. I watched the movie trailer, and during a meteorologist weather report, she seems to become demonically possessed during her broadcast. I find this somewhat troubling. Now, what's going on is that President Trump has ordered the Secretary of War and other relevant departments to identify and release government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life. And he wants to make sure we find out about the UAPs, which is the fancy new word for the UFOs. UAP stands for unidentified aerial phenomena, and UFOs, unidentified flying objects. And it's talking about the same thing. And it does seem that science fiction is hitting the front pages. There's a lot of credibility coming particularly from military eyewitnesses, along with radar and other sensing equipment during these encounters with UAPs or UFOs, whichever term you prefer. What I am going to do is to save you from reading 350-page books on this and long descriptions of the encounters or 4-hour-long form podcasts to kind of get to the bottom of it. I'm going to go straight to it. I'm not going to varnish a whole lot of things, and I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to get right to the point of what is happening and how to be informed about it beforehand. And number one, this might shock you a little bit, but I do believe rather strongly that there are other forms of non-human intelligent life on this planet. Okay? I'll say it again. There are other forms of non-intelligent human life on this planet. The debate isn't, do they exist? The debate is, what are they? And I'll just tell you straight up, they're demons. Second, they are not from another planet or solar system. They're from another dimension. And can spiritual beings and human beings enter or come out of another dimension? Well, you look in the Bible, St. Paul was caught up while alive to the third heaven and back again. Enoch was taken up alive into heaven. And Moses and Elijah appeared centuries after their demise on the Mount of Transfiguration with Jesus. So people do seem to come and go to another dimension. That's not impossible. And I'm asserting that these demons don't come from other planets. They come from another dimension, and this is the spiritual realm. Third, to understand UFO or UAP phenomena from a Christian perspective, you need to know about protology and eschatology. And as far as I know, Luke 21 is the only Catholic prophecy resource that has taught extensively about the relationship between protology and eschatology. And real quick, the pro in protology means early or before, the study of early things eschatology. Eschatos in Greek means last. And so eschatology is the study of last things. And there is a very strong connection between protology and eschatology. Jesus introduces himself in the book of Revelation. I am the Alpha, that's the protology, the beginning, and the Omega, that's the last letter in the Greek alphabet, last things, eschatology. And in particular, if you want a picture, a preview, a prediction of what the last times will be like, there is one verse in the Gospel of Matthew, straight from the lips of Jesus, that is as descriptive as anything you'll ever hear about what to expect. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 7, Jesus says, "As were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." And I do realize that there are good folks who like Luke 21 episodes and like it when we do 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, love it when we do the book of Revelation, that kind of checked out for a while when I was doing Genesis. Genesis, particularly the first dozen chapters, are just loaded with biblical prophecy in the form of protology. And specifically, when we're talking about these disclosure days, when we're talking about UFOs, when we're talking about intelligent extraterrestrial life and all this type of thing, you need to know precisely what the days of Noah were like. And it's described for you in Genesis chapter 6. And then there's an ancient document that was very widespread amongst both Jews and early Christians called First Enoch. And First Enoch, particularly the first dozen chapters of that, is something like an expanded commentary and explanation of what happened in Genesis chapter 6. And I have a handout for you that I did for Genesis 6. I forgot the name of it, but my staff will make real sure that you get to see it when you go to luke21.com. And it's a handout because what happened, and by the way, there's a lot of Catholic scripture scholars, a lot of my friends who are really behind the curveball on this because thinking the old, these were just intermarriage between godly and ungodly people, this is going to leave Catholics very flat-footed when it comes to this whole alien UFO, UAP disclosure stuff. Because what is happening in the last times was prefigured in the early times, and specifically Genesis 6 explained and basically expanded in First Enoch. And what happened is that spiritual angelic type beings came to earth, called the Watchers, fallen angels, and they had sexual relations with women and produced giant offspring, hybrid offspring. They're called Nephilim, and perhaps some type of, because of their knowledge, way exceeds ours, some type of genetic manipulation may have gone along with it. The result was you have these Nephilim giants, of which Goliath, who fought David, was a leftover Nephilim descendant. You had the king Og of Bashan, who had a long bed and 6 toes. Something's a little odd there. He was a giant left over. It's all over the Bible, and in the Old Testament particularly. You can see this in the handout that you can find from Genesis chapter 6. And what you'll need to do, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to hold your hand, okay? I told you point blank, these beings exist. They're demons. They're being dished to us through this movie and a lot of these deceptive type of appearances, because one of the things the Watchers did, besides, which really trips people up with the relations with human women and then having offsprings, is that they taught technology to men. I'll repeat that. They taught advanced technology to men. They taught them metallurgy so that they could make weapons of war and kill each other, because demons love to see humans slaughter each other. That's demonic. And they introduced this. This was forbidden knowledge that wouldn't have been invented, but they made sure we had. As it was in the days of Noah, demons sharing advanced technology with men so they can develop weapons to kill each other. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days preceding the coming of Jesus and his second coming. All right, so now we go from protology, and by the way, you can look at Luke 21 episodes 428 to 471. Here's the name of the handout, Tracking Footprints of the Nephilim. It's a free handout, about 8 pages. I'm not aware of any other Catholic resource that has something like this, and we're not charging a thing for it. Okay, we want to go to eschatology real quick. Eschatology, we learn from Revelation 9 and Revelation 20, the spirits that were bound by Jesus that deceived the nations will be released for a short period of time before Christ's second coming. And that's Luke 21, episodes 458 to 471. You got homework to do. And then there's a little season handout that I gave you along with those episodes. And then finally, I know this is work, but hey, I'm just dishing it out here. The work's been done. You want to study 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and that's episodes 421 to 431. Why is that? St. Paul said the coming of the lawless one, the Antichrist, will be by the activity of Satan with all power and pretended signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are to perish, because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore, God sends upon them a strong delusion to make them believe what is false. Now, I saved an article from 49 years ago because I knew this was coming 49 years ago. I mean, how many people do you know save an article on UFOs from 49 years ago? It was from a group called the Spiritual Counterfeits Project. I was their representative in Florida to help people who are involved in the occult or cults to try to get them out and assist their families to do so. And the Spiritual Counterfeits Project had a special report on UFOs back in 1977, and they asked the question, what are they attempting to do? What is the ultimate purpose of the UFO disclosures? And here it is. This is solid gold. This is why I saved this for almost a half a century. Quote, they are part of a plan to deliberately move significant portions of an entire culture or world into acceptance of or involvement in the occult and a collective alteration in worldview. My comment, without being fully aware of the change. This is preparatory for and necessary to the events surrounding the rise of the Antichrist. I'm Steve Wood, your host, and you've been listening to Biblical Prophecy with Luke 21. Get the episodes at Luke 21 and the resources I've mentioned at luke21.com.
Luke 21 is a radio outreach of Family Life Center International. To learn more about biblical prophecy, visit us online at luke21.com.